Coach. Congrats on the Cubs. Where'd you watch the game last night?
I was traveling. I got to see the last 3.5 innings at home.
Do you have a man cave?
I do not. I lived with 4 women my whole life, and I love the company of being with women, especially beautiful women like my daughters and wife. And I can't understand like someone like yourself would just bury himself in a place where you wouldn't have the frequency of contact with such beautiful people.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You work with guys all day, so I understand where you would want to then spend time with your daughters, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, fair enough. Are you nervous? Were you nervous last night watching?
I was, especially, when we hit a triple in the bottom of the 8th, and we couldn't get another run. I just thought that getting that other run would be a lot less stressful. But the Cardinals are really one of the great organizations in all of sport, in the history of sport, and in any sport. And so to beat them, the way that the Cubs did, it was terrific. And it's amazing for my hometown. There's nothing like Chicago supporting a team. I mean, it goes through every fiber of the city, and I can just imagine how crazy it is there.
First Cub game that you went to, do you remember?
I don't remember the first one. Really during the time I grew up in the late 50s and early 60s, I started high school when I was in 65, in 61, and graduated in 65. You could actually travel in the city when you're a little kid. Like I could go to a game when I was 10, 11 years old and just sit in the bleachers. You just get on a bus and go right up Damon Avenue to Addison, and Addison over to Cubs ballpark and watch. And me and my buddies would sit there and, just idolize those guys. And there were a lot of empty seats during that time, but we loved it. And, you just grew up. You knew every batting average, every lineup, everything about the team. And when you're a Cub fan, you're a Cub fan forever. And so yesterday was spectacular, and hopefully, we can build on that instead of reveling in it and staying in it, but, move on, because this Cub team is a sensational baseball team.
If they go to the World Series, will you attend?
It just depends on dates. I'd love to do that, but, because we've already started practice and it just depends on dates. Certainly I'll watch everything that I can. They've done a masterful job. I mean, for those young guys to be playing like, seasoned veterans is spectacular. That reminds me of my freshmen on last year's team playing in the tournament and winning the championship, how 18 and 19-year-old guys could do that. And now you have 22, 23, 24-year-old guys on this team, a lot of rookies just stepping up. And I think Madden's done a spectacular job of making everybody feel important. It really doesn't matter who comes in the game. And he's used them in so many different positions, different lineups, giving them opportunities. How he handled Castro, making that change, and then him delivering the way he has. Baez, just incredible moves. And I think his confidence in his players shows up in their confidence in themselves and each other.
He's Mike Krzyzewski, Duke head coach, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. But sometimes youth can be a good thing, because sometimes they don't know better. They're a little naive, or the pressure is, I think the more we know sometimes, the more we let pressure get to us, whereas some of these guys are just going, I don't know if that's the way it was with your freshmen, that maybe they don't know enough to know how big something is or the pressure that's going to hit them.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it could be, and You know what I do know? I do think they think they have more chances, so there's not the pressure of this is the only time. I think they feel like there's going to be more times than that, which that's a good thing. And as long as you don't rationalize the moment that you're in. But another thing, Dan, a lot of people talk about the young kids today, and when I go out and I speak, and a lot of people say, they're not as resilient or whatever, and I don't see that. I see, at least the guys I coach, they're a lot better in the moment than I was at their age. A lot more mature as far as the sport goes, and who knows about other things, but they seem tough, resilient, want to be in the moment, are not afraid, and that's who the Cubs have been this whole season, and especially in August, September, and now in October.
Steve Spurrier steps down yesterday and calls it a career mid-season. He said he knew it was time. Is that how it works? Could that happen to you mid-season? You would know, and you step down immediately.
Well, I think there's a lot. It can happen to anybody. In Steve's case, Steve's a friend, a really good friend. He and his family were here at Duke, and they did a spectacular job at Duke. Actually, showed that you could win at Duke, and now David Cutcliffe has shown it again. And Steve's one of the great competitors in sport and one of the great coaches. And I do think that his standard of excellence and what he expects of himself is at the highest level. And only he would know if, for whatever reasons they are, he was not able to meet up with that. And instead of having someone else make that decision, not that he would ever be fired, but instead of someone else saying, hey, what do you think, and all that kind of stuff, I think as coaches, we've done it a long time, we critique ourselves, and we critique ourselves in a much tougher way than anybody could critique us. And I just think he felt that, that was it, and I respect him. He's really one of the really good guys, and I know, if you're competing against him, you won't beat him, just like anybody who's won a lot. But I'm on his side all the time. I think the world of he and his family.
Yeah, but could it hit you like that? Is what I'm saying.
Sure, anything can hit you. You don't know. The physical. I'm not saying something is wrong with him physically, but you get older, and it takes a lot of energy to be not just competitive, but competitive at the highest level. And once you are at that level, if you feel that you cannot, for whatever reasons, reach that level, I think it's appropriate for you to step down and not hang on. And I think that's what if I guess, that's what the conclusion he came to. Like, he's not a guy that's going to hang on. He wants to compete at the highest level. And
well, would you be more apt to step down after a great season or a subpar season?
Well, I'm not looking forward to any subpar season. So,
but if you had one that let's say you lost first round of the NCAA tournament, or you won a title.
Yeah, it would be tougher. Depending, again, if I'm physically ready and my family's good and all, it would be tougher to step down after a poor season, I think. But what I would ask myself is, am I ready to make the commitment? Not that I was considering stepping down, but we had a really good season 2 years ago and then lost in the first round of the NCAAs. Mm-hmm. It was a real knock back for me because we had a good year and a really good year, but you need to look at yourself then and say, okay, there's things that you have to do now with the program. Are you willing to pay the price? It's not about competing. It's about now changing, adapting, doing the things that change and adapting are really important then, and we had to do that. And so that takes a huge commitment. And so that's what I would ask myself if we did have a subpar season. Am I ready to do that for the next number of months before we start practice, before we start competition? And if the answer was yes, which it was, a couple of years ago, then you move forward. But I would hope that whenever I step down, that it would be planned. It wouldn't be because of health or some other situation. But
there was no thought of stepping down after the national title.
No, none whatsoever.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm good, and we have really good kids in, and we have good recruits coming in, and I love, Duke is great. I work, one of the things too, and I think Steve works for good people. I've worked for great people. My presidents here at Duke are great people. They've been friends and good leaders, and my ADs have been amazing. I have the best AD in the country in Kevin White right now, and I've had great ADs and Tom Butters and Joe Oliva. So I've always worked with good people, so they don't wear you out. Sometimes somebody would step down because the hierarchy, the people you report to, the athletics director and the president, are you're in some type of conflict with them. I've been lucky. I've never been in conflict for 36 years here at Duke. It's been pretty good.
What would happen?
Pretty good. Really good.
What would happen if I parked in your parking spot?
I just, your windshield would be broken and your tires would be flat, and then other than that,
but that's
it'd be okay.
Standard procedure for you.
Well, just your car. You said yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, yours, because I know you would want me to do that. You would want me to do that because then you would think that you're that important for me, that I got that upset about you, and then you would talk about that forever. It would be a badge of courage.
Has anybody ever parked in your parking spot?
I think a couple times, but then they just made a mistake. I just parked somewhere else and asked my secretary, could you find out who it is so it doesn't happen again?
And Leitner?
Leitner could have my parking spot. But that would be illegal. But Leitner is responsible for my parking spot.
Oh, there you go.
So I'm very any of those players. They could use it for a while as long as it's we don't get reported into the NCAA.
Congrats on the Cubs, and good luck the rest of the postseason.
I think this first conversation we had where we were actually.
Civil?
Yeah.
Professional?
Yeah. What's going on with our relationship?
I'm taking it to the next level.
Okay.
Like the Cubs.
All right. Well,
who knows what's going to happen when they get to the World Series, Coach?
Well,
we may be vacationing.
It would be I might give up my position here to go see the World Series then, but that would be unbelievable. But you know what? I think the Cubs are as good as anybody remaining, and because I think the Cardinals have the best organization in baseball, and that it wasn't just beating their team; you beat their program in that series, and that's a huge accomplishment.
Thank you, Coach.
All right,
I appreciate it.
This is nice. I feel like I'm exhilarated. All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. That's just two professionals.